a lot has happened. Last time on See You Outside, we discussed murder hornets. But as most of you newly minted allies have realized, the hornets are the least of our worries. So I went for a walk the other day, and from a distance, I saw this thick white web wrapped around the branches of a tree. I've been seeing these things my whole life, and since I was a kid, I've always thought, whatever spider made that is probably huge. It probably eats squirrels. Now, if there's a spider that's big enough to make a web like this thick, my previous self would have probably said, maybe don't go over there. But I went anyway because hashtag 2020. When I got closer, I realized that the web was actually full of these rapidly wriggling, zombie-like caterpillars. Turns out these are caterpillars, and they're not caught in the web, they made them. I don't know about you, but the thought of walking through the woods only to have a sack of caterpillars fall on me, I can't. I don't want it. So adult moths lay egg masses of about, first of all, egg mass, I can't. So adult moths lay egg masses of about 150 to 400 eggs, something light. Once they hatch, they start to build these tents to protect themselves from predators, because a sack of caterpillars to a bird is an all-you-can-eat buffet. The caterpillars just leave the tent for food every day, and then they come back, and in about 6 months, they go into a cocoon. They stay in those cocoons for about 2 weeks, and then they emerge as butterflies or moths, and you guessed it, they lay more eggs. The cycle continues. Now let's pull over for just a second and talk about caterpillars, because oh my God. First, let's start with these Australian processionary caterpillars. These things are covered in no less than 2 million finely barbed, but most importantly, poisonous hairs. Poisonous hairs. If that's not enough to tell you to keep your hands to yourself, then you deserve whatever's about to happen. I don't know what other words you need to hear in combination, but poisonous hair does a lot for me personally. Hey, it's me from a different time. I was so busy focusing on how these processionary caterpillars are covered in no less than 2 million finely barbed hairs that I completely forgot to mention why they're called processionary caterpillars. They're called processionary caterpillars because they follow each other in a line. They follow each other so that they can find food and find their way back to the nest. These processions can go up to 300 caterpillars long. Okay, let's get back to the show. And when it comes to processionary caterpillars, it's not enough to tell you to just keep your hands to yourself. Literally looking too closely at these things can cause you a major problem. In 2019, the Netherlands were overrun by a plague of oak processionary caterpillars. Think about a plague of caterpillars. A plague of caterpillars. They sent over 92 people to the emergency room with eye injuries. So when these caterpillars feel threatened, they shoot these barbed hairs into the air. And if you're unlucky enough to be looking in that direction, or just anywhere around it, these hairs can go into your eyes. They can even get behind your cornea. Symptoms can range from itching and swelling for a couple of weeks to permanent loss of part of your vision from a hairy caterpillar that shot its hairs into your eyeballs. They're literally a sight for sore eyes. But wait, there's more. The Netherlands aren't the only place where you have to worry about being injured by caterpillars. If you're in Houston, Texas, you should probably look out for this deceptively cuddly asp caterpillar. It can cause throbbing pain, blood-colored spots, headaches, nausea, vomiting, and respiratory stress. It gets so much worse. The Lenomia caterpillar is actually considered a public health problem in South America, specifically in parts of Venezuela and Brazil, where it causes, among other things, hemorrhagic syndrome. Let me read the list to you. This thing's really toxic, and for some reason, this guy's got them all over his hands. Better you than me. Here's a pro tip. Any animal that goes out of its way to look like this, probably not the one you want to mess with. On a lighter note, the Braham caterpillar looks like the stuff of nightmares, but it's actually not poisonous to humans. When it finally turns into a moth, it displays this beautiful wing pattern that a lot of people say looks a lot like tiger's eyes, but I think it looks more like a snake's face. Perfect for 2020. Shout out to everybody watching this. There's a whole lot more where that came from. Tune in next time to See You Outside. I think there's too much news.